Hello everybody, this is your girl SlickVick and welcome to Peace, Toast, and Jam. It is good to be back in the beautiful, slightly less hot Tampa, Florida. Let me tell y'all, I was in Ohio, as y'all know, last week for my cousin's wedding and it was chilly. But I think the worst part was I was really sick, and as of, I would say, Monday, so it's what, Wednesday now? I know, I didn't do a video yesterday. Got a little crazy over here. I'll explain. I was still sick. Like, that was a 2-week long endeavor that I don't know what's going around in the air. It wasn't the C word, COVID. It wasn't the flu. It was like some sort of weird sinus, cough, congestion. Maybe it was a hybrid of, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just happy to be able to breathe again and not have to blow my nose every 3 seconds, legit. Chomp's in the back here, playing with a little ball. So if you hear a little squeakiness, that's him just enjoying his life. Anyways, so today, y'all, I have been really wanting to talk about this for a little while now, and there have been 2 conversations that have popped up within, probably within 2 to 3 days, with 2 different situations where this word has popped up. And I have researched this before a little bit. It's something that I learned about through my studies and becoming a school counselor, so through my master's degree with mental health and everything like that. But I know that it got a lot of traction, I would say, over, it started during the pandemic time, and then it just unraveled as mental health became even more and more a normal thing to talk about. So with that in mind, with mental health in mind, this deals with the brain, which I absolutely love learning about the brain. And what it is the difference between neurodivergent and neurotypical individuals. And so for the longest time, I heard these phrases and I didn't really know what they meant. And then I learned a little bit about it, and then it kind of just blossomed and bloomed. And I feel like it's like a hot topic word. And I will say that I find some individuals to use it too much, and then dare I say to abuse it. I don't even know if they know what it means exactly. And then there are those who are truly neurodivergent individuals who are no, I have, a therapist or a doctor's professional opinion due to tests and different things that, yes, it classifies me as someone who is this way. I would like to discuss a little bit about how I feel like there are people on the fence, it's a gray area at times, and who really knows exactly, because it's based off of societal norms. But without further ado, let's talk about it. So what's the big difference between being neurodivergent and neurotypical? So what's the difference? So just looking obviously off of the good old internet, because it's just the easiest way to condense it in a just a quick way. The main difference between neurodivergent and neurotypical is how a person's brain functions. So we're talking about the functioning of your brain. That's the big thing. So let's break down a little bit more. Neurotypical. So if you're a neurotypical individual, it says here, it describes someone who thinks and processes information in a way that's typical within their culture. That's interesting, right? They tend to learn skills and reach developmental milestones around the same time as their peers. Then the next one says neurodivergent describes someone who has a brain that works differently from the average person. This can include differences in social preferences, ways of learning, ways of communicating, and or ways of perceiving the environment. Wow. So neurodivergence, so being divergent, can encompass a range of conditions. So this is where, seeking professional advice, if you want to have tests done, etc., for what's going on with your brain. Neurodivergence can encompass a range of conditions, including autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, Tourette syndrome, and dyslexia. And there are more to that as well. The term neurodiversity refers to the unique ways people's brains work and embraces the idea that everyone has their own unique neurological profile. So I thought that was so cool. I thought that was so interesting. Of course, this is the AI overview that Google gives, so I'm not citing a professional website or research, just so everybody knows. But if I looked at the Cleveland Clinic, so I did pull up theirs too, They say, well, everyone's brain develops similarly. No two brains function just alike. So I think that's really important to note, because even though we're saying, oh, this is neurodivergent and this is neurotypical, no two brains are alike. That we all function differently. So we're all really, I think, like diverse. We're all unique, you know? But it says here, being neurodivergent means having a brain that works differently from the average or neurotypical person. This may be differences in social preferences, ways of learning, ways of communicating, and or ways of perceiving the environment. So yes, if we were to do, you know, a societal average, because that's what they're talking about, it's different from the average. There will be individuals out there that are more on the spectrum over here, more on the spectrum over here of being, and when I talk about spectrum, I'm talking about just brain functionality in general, that you can then be classified as someone that is, okay, you are diverging from the typical, so you are neurodivergent. So I just thought this would be a really cool topic to talk about, because to be honest with you, I have had so many times in my life where I felt like I was neurodivergent without knowing that that was the word for it. So I'm talking about when I was a kid, and to be honest with you, we never talked about mental health growing up. We didn't. And I would say that it's not even like within my family, just in the culture of my family as a whole, like extended family. And I would say the culture of my school, I don't remember teachers talking about different disorders or differences within the brain. I just don't remember it. I remember I struggled with studying, and I struggled with remembering things. And I also struggled just in general. Like I had to work, I felt like I had to work twice as hard as my peers, my classmates, and some of my siblings. But of course, again, that is like through my mind, so I don't know if that was true. Like, what if I was just struggling just as hard as them, but I was more emotional about it? I don't know. All I'm saying is, though, I have felt personally that things have come to me in a different way when it comes to my brain. And even into my adulthood, I have found this to be even more and more solid and like, concrete. Now, the two different situations that I've talked about neurodivergence in my own life has been in reference to another adult who's very close to me, and then also a child that's close to me. Chomper. He is just a wild animal over here. I'm sorry. For those that are just listening on the podcast, I have a Belgian Malinois named Chomper, if you didn't know already. So he's a spicy little taco at times. And for those that are watching the clip on YouTube, obviously, please follow my YouTube if you haven't already. Please subscribe, SlickVick, and please check out all the different links I have. I do have a Patreon page where you can help support me in everything that I'm doing. I obviously have my socials that I would love for you guys to follow along with me throughout all the different adventures that I have. But anyways, so if you hear that in the background, it's just Chomper going crazy. So back to this. I just feel like the topic of neurodivergence has been coming on really strong. So to kind of put it all together, my best friend shared with me this really beautiful explanation of what pebbling is. So pebbling, if you didn't know already, it's a term that I've never heard of. And she was like, oh my gosh, like this is us. We pebble each other. And I'm like, what is this? And it's basically referring to when penguins give each other pebbles, because this is something they actually do. And it's showing like their love and affection for one another. So they literally gift each other like these small little gifts of pebbles, and it's a token of their love. It's for nesting, it's for affection, for obviously I'm assuming it's probably like a mating thing as well. But pebbling in terms of what humans do has been referred in the way that we share memes, or we share links on our socials through, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, X, all that jazz. If you're thinking of someone, you're like, oh my gosh, you gotta watch this, or this reminds me of you, or I just want to show you this funny meme. This is so us. That's a form of pebbling. And I guess, according to the information that I just found out yesterday, it is something that neurodivergent individuals are known to do. It's a form of love. It's a form of affection that I guess neurodivergent individuals like to partake in. So I had made a video on it, and I posted on my TikTok, I posted on my Instagram, and my TikTok just blew up my Instagram blew up, and it was like all these people commenting on it. Mostly good. I will say that it was mostly good. So I was like, oh my gosh, I love that people are loving this just as much as I am. I think it's super cute. But I did have a lot of individuals that were completely against it, thought it was so silly. So one individual was saying that it was just enabling individuals to be more, I guess, more into the trance of being on, social sites and whatnot, which I obviously heard him out. I was like, okay, I get it. Thank you for your explanation. And I can see where that is a worry. But I think overall, the message was very sweet. And it was to say that, people like to show their love in different ways. People give gifts, affirmations, some do acts of service. These are like love language things. And because we live in a society that is heavy on social networking and having social sites, and that's how we share our lives here in the world that we live in, that another way of expressing our connection to another individual can be through paddling. And I thought it was really cute. So a lot of people were really against it, which, all to tie this in together, made me think of neurodivergent individuals, and I wanted to talk about it more. So just some other things that I found through, looking it up. How do you know if you really are neurodivergent or neurotypical? So it says here, through a placeofhope.com, which I'm not really sure where this is, but it says the only way to know this 100% certainty whether or not you're neurodivergent is to get assessed by a professional. So I would agree with that without knowing exactly what this site is about. So I apologize. I did not fact check this site, but I agree that if you are curious and you are someone who maybe the label of it would help heal or soothe your mind, or maybe you're just curious. Let's just say you're just curious. Like, honestly, I'm super curious about myself. I might actually go get a test done to see if my brain falls in any wave of the spectrum of neurodivergence. But you would get assessed by a professional. They would probably give you different tests to see if maybe you're on the spectrum with autism or ADHD. There's so many different brain functionality tests that you could take to see if you do fall on, one of those spectrums. So if you've already been diagnosed with a neurodevelopmental condition like autism or ADHD, it says here, then you would be considered neurodivergent. So for those that are listening or watching, if you already know that you have ADHD or, autism of some sort, that you are considered, neurodivergent, which I think is, I don't know. To me, I find this to be all like superpowers. I tend to look at it in a more positive light than some people. I know some people would not want to have a label like this. Truly, labels are interesting because some can be super empowering depending on how you look at it, right? But if the perspective is wrong, then it can be very just debilitating. It can be negative. It can bring you down, and it can put you in a box. So the last thing I'll say about all this is, if you do feel as though maybe your brain is functioning differently than those around you, excuse me, and maybe it's something that you have struggled with, but you're not one to want a label, or you're not one to really care to know exactly what's going on, that's okay too. I feel like sometimes just getting to know yourself more and more is truly the best thing you can do. Because sometimes when you find out that you are one way or the other, it can automatically, like I said, just put you in a box where you feel like, oh, well, now because I know that this is something that's going on with my brain, I already feel like I'm going to have a negative outcome in this situation. I already feel like people are going to look at me weird once they know this about me. I already feel this, or I automatically assume this, or now it's in my brain, because now that it's like a very conscious awareness that's like concrete because someone said it to you, you automatically are like forming into that. Obviously that's not always the case. Some people figure this out and then they're like, wow, well, actually this is helpful because it explained a lot of stuff going on in my brain that I was always confused about. And now I know the proper tools to go forward. Sometimes you can just figure out the tools on your own. Sometimes if you feel like you are one way or the other and you look up the definition, you're like, okay, so then what are some things I can do going forward without having to get professional this or that or whatever. And you could just kind of make your life a lot easier through researching on your own, doing some inward self development on your own. Obviously, I'm in full support of whatever anyone wants to know about themselves, as long as the intention is good for them and it's not harming themselves and not harming anyone else around them. Like I said, I know mental health can be sometimes a really touchy subject, and although I feel like it's come light years from what it was even 5 years ago, I know it still can be an uncomfortable thing to talk about. So if you are someone like that, obviously there's so many resources online. You can go to your family doctor if you have one, and ask for someone, another professional, go and see a therapist, or I don't know what family doctors, what they can do nowadays, but most time they refer you out, and a lot of times insurances will even cover that, to be honest. Like I know that because I've been offered so many different things through insurances that I've had, and I'm like, oh wow, I could actually go see someone like basically for free. That's pretty cool. So I wanted to put that out there for anyone who's feeling like, oh, I don't really have options, or what if I am this, or what if I know I am but I'm like too afraid to like go forward. It's like you don't have to be a victim in this, and you don't have to feel like you're an outcast in this. This is the neurodivergent in you is actually like the normalcy of the world, I feel like. And although we say you're divergent, so you are different, which I'm not saying you shouldn't be excited about. If you are someone who is excited about it, yeah, like honestly, whoop whoop, like that's awesome. You know what I mean? But for those that are not like whoop whooping and are kind of like scared about it, know that you're not alone. Know that there are a lot of individuals that are they're completely fine, high functioning individuals in society. It does not affect them to the extreme that you might like start to have worry about. And if you are someone who wants help, there's a plethora of different resources you can find on the internet, like truly. And like I said, you could always seek professional advice, guidance, and see what is the next best step for you going forward in learning more about yourself. Because I find the more you know is, knowledge is power, and educating yourself on everything around you is really exciting and just beneficial in so many ways. But yeah, like it's nothing to sweat about. I think the more we know, the better that we can feel better about ourselves, but also understand the world around us and have more compassion, more empathy, so that when we do meet someone who maybe is neurodivergent, we can look at them through a different lens of, okay, awesome, I'm noticing some traits here, and this isn't you being shut off to the world, this isn't you not listening to me, this is you not wanting to interact with me. It could be literally, it's the way their brain functions, and that is just the way they are, and how everybody is perfectly imperfect, just how we all are made. So anyways, I hope this helped some people if you didn't already know about these terms and what they mean. But if you felt that it's something that someone else could really use a little like boost on, or they need to learn about it, or maybe they just need to feel better about themselves if they are someone who is neurodivergent specifically, please share this. This is the way that I get my podcast out there. Like I said, please follow me on my socials, subscribe to my YouTube channel here if you haven't already, subscribe to my Peace, Toast, and Jam podcast. But with that, I'm going to get going. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a wonderful, wonderful morning, a beautiful afternoon, and a lovely evening whenever you listen to this episode. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.